Cosplay Stitch and Seam. Woo!
Take a deep breath. Today's episode is about relaxation and self-care.
We've been talking about cosplay contests, and those are very stressful.
Stressful
Stressful
they're
events.
fun. They're fun. It's a good kind of stress.
It is. It really is. But we wanted to take a break from that to talk about how to not stress yourself out. You know.
Is that possible?
No. I mean, yes, it is possible, but do we actually practice that?
I was writing the outline for this week's episode, and I just felt like the biggest hypocrite. Saying, like, well, you should do this. So I'm trying to, like, not outline this so much as a you should or we should or anyone should, but, like...
But here's some suggestions.
Let's look at, like, what's causing the most issues and see how they can be, like, not fixed, but, like, help you cope.
So it's actually kind of a funny thing, because I always tell people that, like, I do cosplay because it is my stress reliever.
Uh-huh.
And it is in a way. When I make things working with my hands and whatnot, that is the way that I just kind of shut my brain off to other things that are stressing me out, and I focus on
definitely
cosplay. But, on that note, cosplay has actually created anxiety for me. I've actually been essentially diagnosed with anxiety because of it, and I want to try and avoid that. So, like, let's see, at the time that we're recording this versus the time that I made the post in the Facebook group, we asked you guys to kind of give your advice and whatnot on how to avoid the stress, so we'll be quoting you guys throughout the episode. Yay!
Thanks for your contributions. We love seeing all the activity on our Facebook group. Remember, you can also contact us, like, if you have ideas, suggestions. We try to do them a little bit ahead of time so you can take part in our episodes. And you can always contact us on Gmail at cosplaystitchandseam@gmail.com.
Yep. Or through our Facebook page. Oh my gosh, the Facebook page. Yes, you can actually through there.
One other place.
And also on the blog itself, cosplaystitchandseam.com.
Yay!
As long as I haven't broken the contact form, which I do every now and then. Just let me know when I've done it. Just say, hey, V-Fire, you're stupid.
Fast.
I did fix it pretty fast. This time.
To send that through next time. Just that. Hey, V-Fire.
Hey, V-Fire, you're stupid. Fix the contact form. It is mean. But I know I'm dumb and I break it.
So,
right.
I thought we would start out with things that stress you out in cosplay. Like,
yes.
It helps me to, like, put a name to things so I don't just feel this random stress, like, impending doom hanging over my head.
What are the things in cosplay? This amazing hobby where you get to make things and make your dreams come true, make you become the characters that you love. What are the things that cause that stress?
Well, the first thing I put down was deadlines, because creating is so much fun, but when you have the time crunch of, I have to, like, create this fun, wonderful thing, but I have 3 days to do it, it causes the stress. The time, for me, the deadlines is what causes it.
Same here.
Yeah.
And usually it's like, I look at it and I'm like, I've got plenty of time to do this, and so I put things off, so the procrastination
for sure
causes stress too.
For sure. I will say though, with deadlines, it's a mixed bag, because if I didn't have deadlines, I don't know that I would necessarily get as many things done as I do.
I know I'd never get anything done without a deadline.
Like, I always like to have a project in the background that I work on that I'm not, like, super speeded on. I mean, up until I finally find a competition I want to take it to, and then it's like, go! But up till then, it's my background. Like, I do it for fun when I have time. But as soon as something has a deadline, it's like, suddenly... It can take things from being, like, fun crafting hour to being, like, push myself hard until it's done time.
Yes.
The next stressor I wrote down, and feel free to chime in if you have others you want to contribute,
yes.
I put down is the unknown. For me, when I get stuck on a project, it's usually because I have to employ a new skill, or I'm cutting into an expensive material that I haven't used before, and just that, like, fear of the unknown, like, am I going to do this right? Did I just waste a ton of money? Is one of the things that super stresses me out. I like to try new things with projects, and I usually end up really happy that I did, but, like most things with cosplay, it does get expensive, and you kind of, like, kick yourself if you mess something up when it costs a lot.
Yep.
But, on the other hand, like, have to remind yourself, like, it's just money. I'm learning, like, it's never,
just
like,
money.
It is, I mean, it is, like, not that money is hard to come by, but, like, as long as I am getting something out of it, even if I ruin something, I still feel like it's worthwhile because I learned how not to do it.
Yes.
But
that unknown is definitely stressful. Like, that's actually where I'm stuck on my current project, which has been on, delay all summer long, because I'm actually afraid of satin stitching on my sewing machine. I've done it by hand before.
Oh no!
But doing it on the sewing machine is just so daunting for me right now.
Oh no!
I've even done a test piece already, and I'm still like, I'm gonna screw this up.
Now I'm, like, really curious. I'm like, come have a sewing day.
You can watch me
satin stitch together.
Yeah, see, then there's another stress added on top of there, because then then Pannon will be watching me sew this, who's a
being
pro
this
at
evil
it.
jackalope.
The jackalope is watching me.
The next stressor we kind of mentioned, financial. How much are you spending on this costume? Definitely is a stressor.
Especially when you don't want to mess up and waste that money. Because you're on a tight budget.
Yeah, a lot of us only have, like, a limited amount we can put towards cosplay, so finding a way to make it affordable, if it's not affordable, freaking out until we can earn the money some other way to, like, cosplayers are some of the most, like, crafty and, like, ingenious people when it comes to trying to earn money as well, because they gotta spend it.
Gotta spend it.
Gotta spend it to make it. And that's whether you're, like, saving up to even just to buy something. Financial pressure is huge. Yeah, other stressors I put is group pressure. If you are taking part in a cosplay group for, like, an event or a contest or just to do a photo shoot, there's that pressure of, my friends are all doing this, and I will be letting them down if I don't finish.
Yep.
I will be letting them down if I can't afford it. I will be... And for me, that's, like, one of the worst ones, is, like, I hate letting people down. Like...
No, it really is, like, that, for me, like, I tend to avoid doing group projects. I've started doing them more and more over the past couple of years.
Yeah.
I mean, if you look on my Facebook page, you see that the last couple of competitions have been, like, I last competed with Pannon and Mama Samu, and that was a ton of fun. And
a ton of stress.
And a ton of stress, indeed.
Oh my gosh.
There was definitely a point where I was like, if I'm gonna back out of doing this, I need to tell them now so we can change stuff and adapt for it.
Right.
Before it's too late.
Right.
And it's definitely, for me, a group thing is very stressful, especially when, you're competing with someone you really look up to.
For sure.
And you're like, I want to be as good as them, to make sure that you're not,
It's an added weight, it's an added pressure, and adds to your stress.
Or even just to do a group at a convention, not even competition-wise. Like, you want to be able to be there and be a part of the group and not feel... You don't want to feel left out. You don't want to feel like you cut corners when no one else did and things like that, just so that you can be a part of the group. Groups stress me out a lot.
Yeah.
I do like them, because once you get there, oh my gosh, they're so much fun.
They are a ton of fun. I feel like there's a good amount of payoff for groups.
Yes.
And some of the group photos I get are some of, like, my most cherished photos in cosplays, because we all worked hard, we all stressed out, we all... celebrated finishing together,
Yep.
And then one of the last ones I listed was fear of the judgment jackalope. Will I look right when I'm done? Will I make a good blank character? Am I enough? And I mean, for me, that one's a huge stressor, is, like, no matter how many costumes I make, there's always that, like, little voice in the back of my head that's like, well, you're not going to make a very good this character. And that can definitely add to your stress. Mm-hmm. Especially when you work up till the last minute and you've never tried it on before.
Yes. yes. That is probably one of my biggest ones, is that a lot of times I don't give myself enough time. So the first time I see it is when I first put it on, and if there's a mirror around, and 9 times out of 10 I will cry. Because I haven't seen it put together yet, and I don't know how
to, like, do your makeup first. You gotta put it on first.
Yeah, it's like, I don't know what to expect. Where the times where I actually give myself time to put it on beforehand.
Yeah.
That usually helps.
That's good.
Yes.
Any other stressors you want to add?
I want to say overcommitment is probably another one. I have a bad habit of doing that.
Same.
I get excited about all these different things, all the different groups, and I want to make all the things, but then when I actually go home and sit down, I'm like, I can actually only do one of these.
I definitely get that.
It's so easy to get caught up in the excitement and whatnot, and I love getting caught up in the excitement, but yeah, there's also a lot of stress of being like, I can't actually do that.
Yeah. I get that for sure.
Let's see, another stressor I would say is not knowing if, especially again, if you don't give yourself enough time, you don't know if it's going to stay together, what parts are going to fall off, you haven't been able to test run it yet, so you're just kind of winging it.
True.
And, yeah.
That's where we got a lot of our horror stories from.
Yes.
Winging it. Now that we have identified several things that do stress us out,
yes,
I wanted to evaluate also what is your tipping point. And what I mean by that is like what can you like compromise on and what can you not compromise on? How close to the deadline are you comfortable cutting it? Because I know that's a huge one for a lot of people is like, I have friends who no, never, ever do you bring a sewing machine into your hotel room at a convention to get something done. If it's not done enough that you can finish anything else by hand in the room, then it's not done.
Yeah, so, and as you, like, get more and more into the crafting and into cosplay and whatnot, and I notice that a lot of this is on the crafting side of it.
For sure.
It can be up to you of what your tipping point is. I'm still trying to figure out where my median is so that I can start kind of making it so I don't panic every time I'm up late at night working on something, and,
And I will say this definitely varies by, like, what you're doing it for.
Yes.
Like, I know when I competed with Garnet Runestar with, like, World Cosplay Summit stuff, we would be doing stuff, like, right up till, just before we go into judging, like, making little tweaks, doing little finishes, and, I mean, things were mostly done, but we had to have them ready to compete in, and for that level of competition, there wasn't really we had already put in so much, we didn't want to call it, I guess, and say, okay, that's enough.
Yeah.
Which led to a lot of stress. But others that would call it, like, a couple of weeks before the competition and go, like, I'm looking at this body of work and I see it can't get finished no matter how hard I work, and having to call it is also really hard.
Yes. You have to decide how much sleep are you willing to sacrifice to finish the thing. I have a very, very bad habit of throwing a lot of stuff out the door, sacrificing a lot of sleep, a lot of time that I could be using recuperating and kind of allowing myself to heal from the stress into just trying to get it done, because I don't know, that's how I am. I want to see how far I can push myself, and in doing that I have found a very, very dangerous limit. I do not recommend.
Fair.
So it's just like, look at what are you realistically willing to give up. And like, I've noticed that if I don't have it done the day before the contest, I know now that I'm going to be giving myself high levels of stress, that even if I do finish it on the day of the contest, or on the day that I just want to wear this thing at a convention, that my stress levels are still going to be through the roof afterwards, because I haven't had sleep, I haven't done this. So I've been just kind of figuring out, okay, maybe I should stop before, like the week before the convention, and decide, will I actually get this done in time?
Yeah.
And do I really want to spend, 4 hours of sleep each night getting it done? Or do I actually want to get my full 8 hours and actually have a fun convention where I don't have this extra level of stress on top of me because I didn't sleep?
I've definitely had competitions where, like, we pushed each other so hard that, like, we ended up, like, we did win at the contest, but by the end of it, nobody even cared. We were just like, well, I mean, it's great that we won, but I don't feel like it was worth what we went through, you know?
That's definitely, like, if you win and you still don't feel like it was worth it, then you definitely put too much stress in there.
But I would say, like, experience is, I don't know, one of the only ways I've been able to really find what I know I'm capable of in a set amount of time. I feel like the more contests I've been in, the more I've pushed myself like that, the more I know, okay, if I still have this much stuff left, it's not going to get done. I need to change my plans.
Yes.
You know?
And you gotta remind yourself, too, it is okay to change plans.
Definitely, yeah. But yeah, just knowing how close you are to the deadline and how comfortable you are cutting it is definitely something you want to evaluate. The next thing, are you okay settling on materials you can afford? Like, if you want it to be made out of something that's really expensive, but it will still look nice made out of something that's half the price, are you willing to settle?
Yeah.
Is that going to stress you out that it's not made out of the fancier material?
That one's always hard for me.
Or is it going to stress you out because the financial aspect of it costs too much?
I really like making things out of leather, especially if the item looks like it's made out of leather. It's really hard for me to settle and be like, okay, I need to use a different material because I can't afford that at this time. Now, I do try ahead of time to budget for the more expensive things, but, like, you know, recently I went from, you know, full-time back to part-time, so that's a little harder for me to do right now.
Yeah.
And so I have to look at what materials I have and be like, okay, what can I make this out of? Does it have to be made out of that material, or does this other thing actually work for it as well?
I mean, like, it works with different armor, too. Like, there are a lot of great things you can do with leather or thermoplastics.
Yes.
Or metal, but would you be happy scaling it down to foam?
Yep.
Can you make something you'll be happy with out of foam? But yeah, are you okay settling on materials you can afford? The next one I put is how done is done. Can it be scaled back? My rule I call yay for good enough.
Yes.
As I get closer to the con, and things are not done to quite the way I want them, I kind of have to sit there and ask myself, is it good enough?
Yes.
It may not be what I want it to be, but is it going to be good enough?
Zora Armor Link actually has some details missing.
Oh, yeah?
And I actually, like, I thought, oh, I'll just put them on afterwards. And I actually sat down with it the other day and decided, you know, even though I had time to add on these little tiny extra details, I was like, it still is communicated across that this is the Zora armor.
Yeah.
From Breath of the Wild. Like, it has all the main things. I was like, if someone wants to go and look at the photos and point out what's missing, do it.
Yeah.
But, like, at the same time, they were such small details that I was like, it'll be fine without those.
Yeah.
And, like, it's okay to do that, to look at it and be like, alright, I don't have to have that detail on there. It's small, the character is still being communicated across. Right. These are the important things.
I mean, I feel like there are honestly way more costumes that I have done and been like, you know, I could have done XYZ to make it nicer, but I'm still satisfied with what it came out as.
Yes.
I would say, like, Sidon, even with our Breath of the Wild group when we did that, because I was pretty proud that I got that Thebra to make the armor pieces that I did, but I could have spent another week sanding it to be smoother and shinier, and I would have liked it a little more, but I mean, we were so close to competition, I had to be like, well, it's good enough.
Yeah, and for both of us, that was our first time using Thebra, and, I don't know, I'm really satisfied with the pieces that I used for it, and it's really cool. It was a different material. It's not where I wanted it to, look for a final effect, but at the same time, I'm really happy with what I got out of it.
Nice.
I'm really happy with how our whole group turned out. It was awesome, and for learning something new, that was pretty cool.
Yeah, for sure.
Yeah, it's definitely, we've learned a lot from it. Yeah, and as I should take from everything, you learn something from it, so it's still a success. As much as I hate certain cosplay from my past, I still learned a lot from building that armor, and I now know what my strengths and weaknesses are on doing that kind of armor. Yeah.
Next one I have is communicating with your groups. If the situation were reversed, how would you react if someone were dropping from your group? And what are the stakes for it? Because if you're doing, like, it's going to be different if you're doing it for a competition like we were, whereas you're doing it for, like, maybe a local photo shoot where you could, like, reschedule another time with everyone. Like, for me, I always feel bad when I have to drop from a group, but I think of, like, how I would want to be treated in that situation, and I would want to know as soon as possible so that I can plan for there to be one less person, or plan for ways to write a skit around it, or, you know. So, but every group is different, every dynamic is different.
I was going to say, for ALA, when I was at that point where I was like, I have to either bail or sacrifice sleep, and I chose sacrifice sleep, but I did have a plan for if I had to bail on Pennon and Mama Samu. I was like, what I could do is, I'm still going to the convention, I can still finish the set, the song that we were using for the skit still worked with both their characters, even if mine was removed, and so I was like, we can just change what they're doing on stage, we can change a little bit of the set so it's different. I can even still pull strings on set, and they can, you know, I still had this kind of backup plan in my mind of what I could do to still help, but not compete myself.
Fair. But I do feel like our group has been in enough contests and things that, like, we kind of knew our strengths and weaknesses, and, like, I mean, luckily we are close enough friends that, like, I think it wouldn't have hurt our friendship if something had happened.
Yeah.
You know, and every group dynamic is going to be different.
Yes.
So, for me, I just want to say, like, communication with your group is the best.
It's
like,
super
there's
important.
nothing harder than, like, showing up and, like, you're suddenly missing people, or you get to the event and there's stuff that suddenly you didn't know about. So, yeah, I would say, like, ahead of time as much as possible, you know? And, like, I'm not saying this from, like, a high horse position either, because I've been on every end of this. I have been the one that had to bail. I have been the one that got bailed on. I have been, like, just a, like, random bystander who tried to, like, fill in last minute, you know? It's a really, really hard situation. What do we got next? Anything you want to add to the group stuff?
I can't think of anything. I think that's good.
And the last thing, which I feel is, like, one of the most important things, is how is getting the thing done or not getting it done going to affect your enjoyment of the event it's for?
Yes.
Are you going to be able to go to this convention and still have fun if you're not part of XYZ group? Are you going to still have fun if you're not competing? Are you going to, like, be able to change your plans so you still do have fun? Because I have definitely been at conventions where I had to bail from the contest, and your attitude going into it makes so much difference. We've had it, like, completely wreck a weekend, and I've had it, you know, suddenly my whole weekend is open, and I can go do things and see friends I haven't seen in a long time. I can go shopping. I can go, you know, do other stuff. It doesn't always have to be about competition. I don't know. What do you think?
I think that is very, very good advice. So when I go to conventions, I always try to compete, because I like being there. I like that it gives me a deadline. I love being in the green room. You guys have heard me rant about that probably way too much, about how much I love the green room. I just love being part of the competition culture. That's where I want to be. And so whenever I have to choose to not be a part of the competition, that one's always kind of hard for me, because I actually am not very good at being a normal convention goer.
That's fair.
I'm getting better, hopefully, at that. Like, I'll be going to Anime Bonsai, and I'm not competing this year. Wow. I know, right? And I'm not competing, and I'm not judging in the contest either. I might be helping some friends as a stage ninja, but that's about it. So I'm like, all right, well, here's other things that I'm planning for. I'm like, I'm going to try and do panels. I got 2 of my panels approved.
Nice.
I submitted 5.
Nice.
which I don't normally do, but because I, wasn't doing the contest, I was like, oh, let's see how many panels I can put in before they tell me to stop. So I'll find out on the other ones later.
Cool.
And then I've got I want to go and talk to people about their costumes in the hallways.
Nice.
Anime Bonsai is introducing the ribbon culture, so I want to try and participate in that. Anime Lost Legends also has ribbon culture. If you go to a convention and people are handing out ribbons, we should have a whole episode on that. Bring Rena over.
We'll bring Rena.
Yeah.
The ribbon pro.
She is the ribbon pro, yes. It's really fun. There's always other fun things to do. And then my friend Sadie, we all know and love her. She's always the one that knows what to do outside of the contest because she doesn't compete a ton. So I'll be like, hey, show me some cool, fun things.
Very good idea.
Yeah. There's always more to do outside of the contest. I'm just not very good at doing those things. So I'm going to do that this year.
Sure. I want a full report on how it goes.
Sweet. I'll do that. It'll be
nice.
Fun.
Planning in episode for more episode. Excellent. That's awesome. So we've talked about a little bit what causes stress and what things are important to evaluate in suffering through stress. But the most important thing is, how do you relieve that stress?
Yes.
And you guys sent in a bunch of ideas. I wanted to go over a few types of personalities and what works for those and what may not work. I think the most important thing is finding out what works best for you.
Yes.
Because what relieves one person's stress is not gonna necessarily work for another person.
This is why I'm also really happy that we got so many comments in the Facebook group giving advice on this, because everybody who commented, especially those who I know personally, I'm like, oh yeah, you guys are really different people. And so they give very different advice, and I love that.
Yes.
So as you're listening to this, just kind of think, what would work for you?
Awesome. So the first one that comes to mind for me is the pampered. For me, I like to have a reward in mind for getting things done. If the convention is here and I haven't gone to get my nails done, or had a spa day, or had a day when I can sleep in before the con can be kind of rough for me. And that may sound really pampered and bratty, but that's one of the things that relieves my stress before a contest.
I didn't know you did that, and that sounds amazing, and I should try
that. It's fun. You should come with me sometime. I really love having nice nails for a convention weekend.
Oh, no secret.
What?
I've never had my nails done.
We are getting you a manicure. We're doing a mani-pedi stat. Yeah, we should schedule one before Bonsai, and then you can add it into your report.
Oh my gosh, yes. I'm gonna make Anime Bonsai this year the least stressful convention I have ever been to.
Yes. But yeah, if I haven't had a facial or something ahead of time, then I feel my face is kind of rough for that weekend, and I worry about that,
Oh yeah, that's not the stress creator, actually.
Yeah.
Did I break out? Crap.
Exactly. So for me, taking a day, cosplay is also about how you present yourself. So for me, taking a day to actually take care of me, I feel helps me put forth a better presentation when I go out in cosplay. Whether it's even just something small, getting your nails done sounds like it's going to be an all-day thing. It's about an hour. That's it. Same for a pedicure. Same for a facial. They're maybe an hour each. Yeah.
I'm excited.
I like doing pampering stuff. Also, spending time with people who reduce stress, or spending time alone, depending on what recharges your personal batteries.
Yep.
But that's part of a pampering for me, is knowing what's going to recharge my batteries and being able to do that before a weekend.
So, I just realized I kind of do something along those lines of a sort of pampering / recharging batteries thing. Sometimes when I'm working on a project, whether it's cosplay or work or just cleaning my apartment, I'll do a thing where I'll do an hour of work and then an hour of playing a video game.
Yeah.
And then I'll do an hour of work and then an hour of playing a video game. Because I can't do half an hour of video games.
Totally.
There's not enough time for that. So I'll do that to just kind of balance it out. And sometimes I'll do, once I start working on something, I'll suddenly go, oh, that's 3 hours. Oh, I'm going to go play an hour of games right now.
Sure. There's actually been studies that show that taking occasional breaks in between helps you be more focused overall. because you're getting your mind away from that project. So if you work and then take a break and then work and take a break, you may be speedier overall than if you had just marathoned through the whole thing in like an 8-hour day.
Yeah.
Because you are giving yourself that chance to recharge. So,
Woo.
So yeah.
Focusing is hard for me.
Yeah. Next type of person thing that helps, the reward. What do you have to look forward to at the con? Like con treats? Are you going to get dealer's hall swag? Are there new tools? Can you put something up there like on your to-do list chart that's your goal? Like if I get done, I'm going to give myself blank. If I finish my stuff in time for the competition, I'm going to go buy that new JoJo's figurine that I've been eyeing. I'm going to get an art piece commissioned by one of my favorite artists. I'm going to, whatever makes you happy at the con. I'm going to schedule a shoot with one of my favorite photographers. Yeah.
That's a really good one.
A really good motivator because it usually is the costume that you're competing in or the one you were excited to get done is the one you want to get shot in.
Yeah, if I finish this, I'll go get an amazing photo shoot done with so-and-so photographer that I admire and is going to be at the convention. I have actually done that before. I'm like, I know this photo person is going to be at this convention. I really want to get this costume done so I can go shoot with them.
Mm-hmm.
So worth it.
Nice.
You can also do that in steps. I sort of do this. I'm not very good at it, and I should probably implement it a little bit more because it does work for me. Is if I get X amount of things done by a certain day, I can go buy a new leather tool.
Nice.
Or if I get so much done, then I can maybe finish playing a certain video game. Because I love games. I know what I like, so that's a good motivator for me.
Nice.
And sometimes, like, you can get somebody else to help you with that. So, like, my husband or Sadie will actually give me incentives as well to be like, if you get this done, you can do this next. It's really nice.
The next one I wanted to touch on is the organizer. For some people, like, this is one that helps me a lot too, is having a to-do list gives you a better idea of what's left. Because if I am just going through it in my head, I'm like, I have to go shopping for bread, milk, and eggs. But if it's in my head, it feels like that list is so long. If I sit there and take a minute and write it down, I'm like, oh, that was 3 things. Why was I getting stressed out over 3 things?
Yeah.
So just having a list and being able to visually look at it and go, okay, this is what I have left, helps me a ton.
So, because this one's so specific, we actually have a
Facebook thingy.
A Facebook person, yes. Gloria. I don't know how to say your last name, so if I botch this, I super apologize. Gloria Show? S-H-E-U? Show? I apologize. Gloria. I can say your first name. It's a beautiful name. She says, I make lots of to-do lists. I break my cosplay into individual tasks via the app Cosplanner. If you guys haven't heard of Cosplanner, it's really cool, by the way. I've used it a little bit. It doesn't match my personal organization, so I don't use it a ton, but I know a lot of people who love it. So, so she says, I break my cosplay into individual tasks via the app Cosplanner, which I can check easily on anytime on my phone. Then on a day that I have time to work on crafting, I make a more specific list that breaks down a couple chosen tasks into subtasks to do right then. This keeps me on track and makes the whole big project seem more accessible as it is broken into individual steps.
I would definitely agree, and that's actually one of the ways that I help keep myself motivated when I'm working on stuff, because sometimes I will be like, well, this just seems like a huge thing, I don't want to do it. But if I'll break it down into smaller steps, and I'll just pick, sometimes, if I'm having a bad day, I'm like, I'm just going to pick the smallest thing. I'm just going to do this one thing, like sew this one seam, or like just do like a single line of beading or whatever. And I'll start, and then before I know it, I have done like a whole bunch of other things on that list because I didn't want to finish, I wanted to keep going.
There's, what I do when I make my list, so I make tons of lists, when I'm working on stuff. This is why part of why Cosplayer doesn't work for me is because I make a list and then I make a new list. And then I make a new list. And it changes each time depending on what my mindset is in at that time. And so if you ever come to my apartment, you'll see checklists all over the place. And you'll be like, did you actually complete any of these? I'll be like, no. No, I haven't. But what I'll do with each of them is that I'll actually, especially when I'm getting into time crunch mode, I'll put in parentheses next to it that I think this will take me, if I think it's going to take me an hour, I write down 2 hours.
Nice.
If I think it's going to take me 30 minutes, I put down an hour. I try to double the time, or at least add on 1 to 2 hours extra to it, because my estimate of time is always off. And that kind of gives me an idea, okay, worst case scenario, this is how much time I have left to work on this project.
Nice.
And then I'll start tackling it. I'll either tackle the big thing for that day, or I'll be like, there's a bunch of 30-minute things on here. I'm going to tackle each of those and see how many I can crank out at once.
Yeah.
And that helps get a lot of check marks off of there, which is super satisfying.
Yes, for sure. I like those kind of lists, too, because it also, in the event that, like, things go wrong, it on paper shows you in a way your mind can logically process, like, I don't think I can physically get this done in time.
Yes.
It's time to change my plan.
Yeah, and that's actually one of the things I did like about Cosplanner, is that you could actually put in how much time you spent on it versus how much time, you thought you were going to spend on it. You can actually keep track of that, and it's kind of nice.
Oh, good. As a part of the organization stuff, I also put having a clean space to work helps you be more productive.
Yes.
I am definitely guilty of having a messy workspace. Anyone who knows me would say that, yes.
I cannot judge you.
I know.
You've seen my apartment too.
Okay. But when it's clean, I feel so productive, and that's all I want to do is work on stuff in this shiny, clean space I have.
Yes.
I just want to make a new mess.
Exactly. I love that. I want to make a new mess. That's exactly where it goes. So I love organizing things. It's, for me, when I organize something, whether it's spreadsheets or
definitely
figures on a table to my crafting stuff, it's super stress relieving for me.
Definitely.
Just because of my personality type, I'm weird that way. Organization porn subreddit is my thing.
I think it's very satisfying.
Yeah. So doing that just is a stress reliever. And then once it's done, it's like, I know where all my stuff is. Oh, I could probably work on this piece now that I know where, all my sewing needles are.
Yeah. And then the last thing in organization, I put being able to change your deadline. Whether it's setting that deadline a month ahead or pushing it back to another con or changing that deadline, whatever it does, like moving it around, you can do to help you relieve that stress.
Yes.
Like being able to look at, like Mercedes was saying, like break it down into time allotments and see if you're able to get it done. And if not, reevaluate.
So we have a lot of quotes on that here on the blog. So I'm going to kind of
go for it.
Put some of them out there. So Ashley Sedwick says good time management.
Yes.
I love that one. It was just short, sweet, and to the point. Luis Flower Girl Sanders says, I plan to get everything I set out to do done at least a month in advance. If that's not possible, then I end up dropping certain things that would make the deadline too stressful. I really like that one.
I wish I could do that a month in advance. Yeah. I'm usually way too frantic to do that.
I think, the closest the longest amount of time between the finished product and the convention was a week for me.
Oh, wow.
But trying to do it a month in advance, I was about to say, I should aim for that for bonsai, and then I was like, oh, wait.
# life goals.
That means I need to get it done now.
Right now. In that same vein, I did, what did I write down? I guess it should also fit under organization, but I also wrote down what one of the other people we just did, Gloria, dividing your tasks into the smallest steps possible.
Yes.
It gives you a sense of accomplishment and gets you closer. And then we kind of talked about this, but how do you work best if you're a marathoner? Planning out your dashes, when you can do a marathon, and if you're a nibbler, stretching your daily allotted hours, I like to do 20-minute stretches and then take a 5-minute break.
Yeah.
But if you're getting closer to your deadline, stretch it out to 30-minute and then 5-minute break. Whatever's going to help you get those projects done.
Yes. Sherry Allen actually has some advice on the, like, putting things into bite-sized pieces.
Yeah.
She says, I give myself a high estimate of time needed, then deadline and split the total time into smaller deadlines.
Mm-hmm.
So many hours a week or a certain piece to be done. She did this with one of her previous projects and said that it worked really well. So
nice.
And that's kind of what I attempt to do.
Yeah.
I'm not really good at it.
I think we all try our best.
Yes, yeah. And you'll find that too, like as you're figuring out your style for keeping the stress low and production high, you'll figure out what your do's and don'ts are.
Yeah. Like, one of the things I do is I get calendars where I can write all over them. And when I'm getting close to a con, I will go, okay, if I work on blank for each day and I, like, map out what I'm going to do each day, maybe not, like, to the point of, like, how much time, but I'll assign, like, maybe 2 hours worth of tasks to each day. Because I know I can focus for at least 2 hours on a given day.
Yeah.
And if there are still too many things to get done before the convention, I know I'm going to have to either give up a project or really marathon through some stuff.
Rachel also has some advice on this.
Yeah.
She says, so this is Rachel Doty, she says 2 things. 1, give yourself more than a month to make the cosplay. Oh, I've already broken that one so many times. And I was, how long did it take you to take this? A month? A week? Don't do that. I totally agree with Rachel on this. Give yourself more time, more than a month to make the cosplay, especially if it's quite an extravagant one. Pace yourself and take things in small baby steps. And also don't forget to still live life. Eat, sleep, drink lots of water.
Yeah.
I really like that bit of advice there. Drink lots of water.
Stay hydrated.
Also eat. I'm really bad about once I start crafting, Sadie usually has to come and be like, hey, you're eating, you need to have dinner. I was like, oh yeah, that's right, food. And don't be a complete recluse while making it. Hard, I know. Aw, Rachel. And she says, and 2, if it is last minute, then maybe consider postponing it for another convention. Mm-hmm. Nothing worse than getting no sleep and hating your cosplay to the point of crying or wanting to throw it all away. That can really make you avoid cosplay in the future if it was a bad enough experience. Good experiences in cosplay is what it's all about, after all.
Yeah, that's very true.
I really like that one. Yeah, again, previous cosplay that I super duper hate was also partially because I was working on it up to the last second, and pieces didn't turn out how that I wanted them to. It looked fine, didn't function fine. A lot of stress on top of that makes it so that I have not worn it to this day, and I know I really do want to get photos in it. But it's very hard for me to go back to.
Yeah, I have definitely had ones like that. Or you wear it for the con, like, one time and then immediately want to put it in the garbage.
Yeah.
Like, because you had the obligation to do it for, like, a group or something, and you just hated it so much it just goes in the trash.
I want to do photos and then burn this one, except that'd be really bad because it's toxic materials. But yeah, someone else is trying to convince me to sell it, and I'm like, oh, you're going to convince me a little bit more, because I personally don't feel like it's worth a ton, but he thinks it's worth something, so that was really nice.
Yeah.
That made me feel better about the costume.
Good. That can be another hard thing with, like, selling cosplay is, like, everyone is shaped so different.
Yes.
Depending on what you're making and selling, it can be really hard to sell.
Yeah.
Another thing that can help is being a project hopper. If too much of one thing bores you, if your project is divided up into steps, maybe try switching things up to different projects to help you be more productive.
Yes. Brittany Elise, she says, this is actually why I do 2 projects at once.
Nice.
I will switch back and forth when I get stuck, so I'm not hyper-focusing on the one that is going wrong. Also, I give myself a year for large projects and switch between the hard and easy stuff.
That is definitely a good idea. Like we were talking about earlier, when you're afraid to do new things, that can be one of the reasons I'll just stop a project and pick up something else, because I know I will get stuff done on that project, but I might not do it on the one I'm stuck on, because my brain needs time to, like, think through and figure out how I want to do that. Yeah, I really like that one. Nice.
And if anyone's ever met Brett, she moves back and forth between cosplay projects, and it's really fun to kind of, like, watch her progress.
Nice.
She's really talented.
Cool. Is there any others you wanted to
Yes.
Go over in the group.
Yes. So Sadie has a good one. She's got two bits of advice on here. So her first one is music and podcasts while working on the thing. So that's actually a really good one because you can listen to stuff. I like listening to like the Adventure Zone.
Yes.
Because they make me laugh.
Finding a good podcast is great because for me, if I'm listening or I'm watching new stuff on Netflix or whatever, I can't pay attention to my crafting because I want to watch it.
Yes.
But with a podcast or like an audiobook or something, I can listen to it, still pay attention, but still be doing something with my hands.
Yes, it doesn't require your vision to listen.
Exactly. I listen to so many audiobooks.
Yeah, she also says breaks with friends, chatting, an hour of video games, and then she goes, and trips to Village Inn. Village Inn is hers and my comfort food when we're stressed.
Nice.
So yeah, so go and eat somewhere. Take a break.
I always try, like, when I have a deadline approaching, if someone invites me to go do things, I will do, like, everything I can to still go do the thing, because I know I need that social interaction. I know I need to get out and kind of, like, take a step back every so often, because otherwise I'm just going to get, like, stuck. Yeah. And then Sadie says, the best advice, she's all, get ready for it, get a cat. Is that the best?
That's what she's saying. She's all, I'm serious. When I'm super stressed out, sad, or overworked, I take a few minutes to pet my cat and just listen to him purr. I find it really helps. When I'm stressed too, she'll send me pictures of her cat.
That's cute, actually.
Yeah, I can't have a cat at my apartment. I really want one.
I can't. I'm allergic, but I love cats.
I know, they're so cute. Alright, it is decided. I'm gonna find a cat that people aren't allergic to.
Nice.
So that way my friends can come and pet
One of those Sphinx cats.
I don't want to...
Naked cats.
Not a naked cat. They really freak me out.
The, like, short fur, hypoallergenic type.
Yeah, yes. Okay. The other ones are kind of creepy.
Or just have, like, a lot of, what is it, like, the alcohol wipes and stuff around so people can wipe their hands off and not touch their face.
Yes.
Any others you wanted to...
Miranda Kinsford says, little breaks when doing long stretches, like eating something, or do, like, an item a day. It helps give you a good amount of progress into chipping away at it, so that a steady pace keeps the cosplay crunch away. So that was really cute. Nice. She also said, manage your time effectively. Time management, I think, is, like, the biggest one. It's the hardest one to keep. Yeah. That's where, like, using an app, or you can also use your friends to kind of keep track of stuff. One of these, let me see if I can find it really quick. Alex Baird says her self-care kind of thing is sharing her progress pictures. She says, if I can share pictures or show the piece off to friends or family, I get a little boost and get excited to do more. Sort of a positive reinforcement thing. Nice. That one's a super good one.
Nice. That's a good idea.
Yeah.
For me, that's like a mixed bag because I want to, like, wanting to share it can keep me going, but if I share it too early and then I don't want to work on it because I've already gotten praised for it.
I get that one.
So I have to, like, wait until the thing is done. I can't share a picture until I'm like, okay, I'm at a point where it's shareable.
Yeah. Oh, a couple more. Candace Chesley says, I have found that helping my friend with his project helps me put my work into perspective while still keeping me motivated to do more work. It breaks me away from the stress while not letting me fall into a depression slump.
That's a good idea.
That's a good one. That's kind of like bouncing back between two different projects. Yeah. The other one could be helping a friend with their project.
Nice. And that's a really good one. I like
they could help you with yours.
Yeah.
And then the last one, I think this is the last one, I'll double check, is from Cassini. She's got a very long one. So Cassini Closet says, keep organized and clean and acceptance in defeat. I know this is so hard for some, myself included. But, so she said, I know this is hard for some, myself included, but every little bit goes a long way. Keeping organized by spending 5 minutes to write up a to-do or checklist is helpful. Knowing what can be accomplished in free hours of the day kind of helps with that. Do things in shifts and groups. Got a lot to paint it all in the same group. Same goes for cutting and sewing. Think like an assembly line would do. Clean your work area. Keep scissors, measuring tape, needle, and thread, your patterns, drawings, visible and accessible at all times. Now, funny side note on this, I have 4 pairs of scissors, and that's because every time I pick up my pair of scissors to cut something, and I set it down, I forget where I put it. So by the time I've lost the 4th pair of scissors, I've found the 1st pair again. I'm really bad at staying organized, even though I love organizing. Okay, so back to Cassini's quote and advice. This helps you so you don't waste time looking for them, like I do. Keep all of your stuff visible and accessible at all times. This is number one to causing stress and panic, especially, when you're like, oh crap, where are my scissors? Also take time to shower and vacuum the floor. This helps you take a break, think out methodically what to do next, and it always feels good to keep yourself and your home clean. Uh-huh. For the defeat part, what I mean is when you get wrapped up in this idea of, oh, this is going to be so awesome to show people at the con, or oh, I'm going to win the contest with this, or oh, I'm going to belong with the group, so I must get this done. Stop. Remember, it's not the end of the world if things don't go quite as planned. If you happen to not finish something, or your cosplay is not in the ideal state to wear completely at the desired con, it's okay and you're not alone. Cosplay takes time. Don't rush it. If you're happy with what you're working at and you like what you see and can wear it, that's what counts. The deadlines are set mostly in your heads. You can apologize to friends for not getting things ready on time. You can apologize and let the contest staff know you can't make it on time. Letting go and apologizing seems so heavy, but we all have lives. We all have things to take care of. Cosplay can be a part of our life and hobby, but don't let it dominate every little thing you do. Go to family reunions, birthday parties, instead of dipping out and saying to yourself and to others, sorry, I can't make it, I gotta get this cosplay done on time. And there's always another convention, not like a, pros and cons. There's always another convention, another gathering, another chance to show off what you've been working on.
It's true.
That was a beautiful comment from Cassini.
Nice. I think the point of this whole episode and the point of all the advice we're trying to give is be nice to yourself.
Yes. I know it can be hard.
This is a hobby. This is for fun. It is competitive, and competitive can be part of the fun. But at the end of the day, it's supposed to be something that's for fun. And taking the time to do things that are nice for yourself can be part of that fun. And we just want to make sure you guys take care of yourselves. I hate seeing people that get burned out of cosplay because they push themselves too hard to the point that they just no longer enjoy it, no longer like it. So we want to help you help yourselves. So, yeah.
Yes.
Thanks for listening to our thingy thing. Are we ready for some horror stories?
Horror stories. So, one moment.
I mean, I have one I can share while you're looking that one up.
That's probably a good idea.
Okay.
Alright, go kind of horror story time.
I'm gonna go, because I kind of mentioned this one earlier. So, I was doing a group, which is stressful, and we were doing some really intricate designs, which is stressful, and only some of us had started far enough in advance to get them all done, but because I was kind of in charge of the group, I felt personally responsible for getting everything done. So I was hosting parties at my house every week to help people work on things, and I learned how to do LEDs from this project. I learned how to do EL wire. It was a lot of new things, and we got to the convention still working on these projects. It got to the night before the masquerade. We were still working on these things. We had judging the next morning at, I think, 9 in the morning, 10 in the morning. It was a pretty early judging slot. And, we were working up to the last minute. I think we got maybe 3 or 4 hours of sleep, and some people didn't sleep. And at one point, I woke everyone up in the morning to have them go get ready, and I had to go check into another thing that was going on at the convention, and so I got ready, I woke up I think at 5 in the morning that day so I could get ready ahead of time, go down, check in,
that's early.
Come back and check on my group and help them finish getting ready, and then go down to the contest and get judged and all that stuff. And I went down, did my check-in, and I came back to the room I had woken everybody up in advance, and I got back to the room, and, like, there was dead silence. So I was like, okay, maybe they are all dressed already, they've already gone down to judging, and they're waiting for me. Because at this point, we had about 10 minutes to make it to our judging slot. Mm-hmm. So I push the door open, dead silence. I take 5 steps into the room, everyone is dead asleep.
Oh no.
And I just, like, that was kind of like my snapping point. Like, I don't snap easily, but I just lost it because we had worked so hard. And, you know, I was helping everybody, like, get up. I was in a foul mood. I was, like, it was just awful for everyone. And rushing to get ready in, like, 10 minutes. There was crying everywhere. There was, like, we did make it to judging and we did make it to the contest. But by the end of it, like, everyone was so burned out and so, like, frustrated and annoyed, and, like, we did win a prize for it. Like, we actually, like, I have a trophy on my wall from that convention, and everyone was so sour about it afterwards. They were like, yeah, we won, but it wasn't worth it. Like, so that's my thing, is knowing when to, like, it can be okay to quit. If you're going to have an experience like that, sometimes quitting is a better option, because you don't want to just look back and hate the costumes and hate the performance and hate what you did. All right, give us this other horror story.
Okay. So, this is a horror story from Cassini. This one's a lot of fun. She says, okay, I realized just how much of a horror and frustration this was for me a long time ago. I laugh about it nowadays, so it might be humorous to others. I'm going to speak about an ex-acquaintance. We'll call him Jim.
Okay.
So she says, making cosplays for other people is not easy. Though it's awfully tempting and fun, it can turn into a nightmare very quickly. I had told my sister-in-law that I was single, so this is even more interesting, because we got a single thing going on here.
Boy.
And she decided to play Cupid and hook me up with a fellow she knew from school that happened to like anime and video games as well. So on the first meetup, we discussed interests, and cosplay came up in discussion. I mentioned that Nihon Matsuri was coming up, and Jim seemed interested to try and cosplay and go to this event. I had told him briefly that I had made a cosplay for my mother to play as Old Sophie, and myself as a Gajinka of Calcifer from Howl's Moving Castle. By the way, if you haven't seen her Gajinka of Calcifer, it is so...
I think I judged that year.
Oh my gosh, it's so cool. I love it.
I know a little bit of this story.
Ah, okay. Yeah, so we wore it at Fanaticu, and had just come back from that con. Mom and I had a good time, and I felt bad that we didn't have a Howl for our tiny group. Now, Jim was interested in cosplay, so we found our Howl. So now they have Howl and Sophie and Calcifer. Yay!
Yeah.
He agreed and committed himself towards the cosplay and the event. There were a few things to do. First, I had to get Jim's sewing measurements to make a shirt and the coat and cape. We would buy a pair of pants, shoes, and I already had the wig. I went down to his house to take the measurements, and he lived 50 miles away. No joke. I'm not the best seamstress, but at least I thought I knew what I was doing when I took the measurements. He wore a sweatshirt hoodie, so that should have helped with the measurements, because it kind of adds a little bit, right? And I added 3 to 4 inches to everything to make sure it fit as a precaution. I kind of do that too when I'm making stuff for other people. Add a little bit of extra just in case.
Sure.
Then we went shopping for pants. We traveled back to Provo's Desert Industries. That's kind of like a thrift store here in Utah. And thankfully they had a large assortment of the apparel, so we got the pants and shoes, and check, we're good. Alright, I went home and made the shirt, started the coat and cloak, decided he'd have it hang on him by the shirt with alligator clips, and the coat, as the coat was not meant to be worn. So she didn't worry about, like, the coat needing to fit, because it was just going to kind of hang off of him. You know how Hal does that? He's like, oh, so flippant and fancy. Fancy Hal.
Fancy boy.
At a rehearsal for Nihon Matsuri, I had him try at least the shirt on.
Oh no, this was the years when we just did, like, a performance instead of a cosplay contest.
Yes, yeah, so, like,
I remember seeing that group, though.
Yeah, way back when the Nihon Matsuri would do, like, a big, like, turn it into one big, huge play, and, like, you'd have all the different characters come on at different times, and they would interact with the MCs.
Yeah, and like, tell a story and tell people about... because Nihon Matsuri is not like an anime convention, it's a Japanese festival, so we wanted to like I say we, but like the cosplay community and specifically the people running it wanted to present cosplay as like a part of Japanese culture.
Yes. Yeah, so they would have these rehearsals, and so what Cassini's describing here is that she essentially, because of how far away she lives, had to travel over 200 miles every trip for picking up this guy, going to the rehearsal, and then getting back home.
Oh, jeez.
And she's like, I still thought it was worth it at this time. So at the rehearsal, she sent him to the bathroom to try on the shirt, and he came back and told me there was a problem.
Uh-oh.
They're like, oh no.
Uh-oh. He
couldn't get it over his midriff. I had no explanation as to what happened other than when I took his measurements, he sucked his gut in to impress me or something.
Oh no!
That's kind of cute.
Oh no!
Even though I told him not to. Even though I took precautions, it still didn't fit.
Oh no!
So now she's got to fix the shirt. So Nihon Matsuri is coming up fast, and I didn't want to remake the whole shirt again, so I cut it straight up the back and put in a 6-inch panel to make the shirt a tad bigger so no one would see this alteration. That's actually a cool trick, just kind of adding in a panel in the back. And it worked. Oh, that's good, it worked. She says, I'm still proud about the coat I made too. So all in all, the Japanese festival came and went. It was good overall, and the three of us looked good and had a fairly good time. And I successfully made 3 cosplays, 2 for other people, other than myself. She also wanted to mention that her Sophie dress for her mother, the seams between like the top the top and the skirt only had less than an 1/8 inch seam allowance with no fabric to spare. Like she cut that one like to the limit there.
Wow.
She said it was a bad cut of error on my part, though I prefer the smalls to be 3/8 inch. But she's like, the dress is held together by threads.
We've all been there.
Yeah. She says that Jim also spilled soy sauce on that shirt.
Oh no!
And so she had no way of getting that out of Hal's white shirt. No. So the shirt was completely ruined.
Oh, after all that.
Yes. So she says that Jim and I went our separate ways quickly after, and I wish him the best. But yeah, so that was a lot of fun.
Wow.
I can totally get that, like, being very stressful, making something for someone else, and this is part of why, like, I don't do that a ton unless I can have them, like, there all the time.
Yeah, if you're doing, like, things for others, you want to have, like, more than just a measurement. You want to have a couple fittings.
Especially, like long distance.
Yeah. Oof.
Yeah. I mean, 50 miles isn't too much of long distance, but it's enough to make that really stressful.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Alright, guys. Well, remember, sharing is caring. Share, like, subscribe, recommend to a friend, talk to your local con if you like us. We want to better represent you and your community, so help us make Stitch and Seam helpful to you. Our contact info, once again, if you want to get a hold of us.
cosplaystitchandseam@gmail.com, or you can go to the website.
cosplaystitchandseam.com, or our Facebook group, where we have a lot of fun. Mercedes has recently started doing different, like, sharing your talents, sharing people who inspire you. So there's something almost every day if you want to come visit us.
Yes, I'm not sick out of my mind and I suddenly realize it's Friday and I haven't posted anything all week.
So it's just the Cosplay Stitch and Seam Facebook group.
Yes.
You do have to get approved for it, so it might take like a few minutes, but we're both pretty quick about making sure you get through. You can listen to us on iTunes, Google Play, Stitcher, or wherever you get your podcasts. Music this week.
Music is done by Macy Roberts, and our sound editing
by David Jeffress of Dungeons and Chill, and a new podcast, Comic Trades Monthly, which is like a book club, but for comic books. So make sure you check that one out.
Oh, I should tell my uncle about that one.
Remember, guys, following patterns should net you something good when you're done. If the patterns you're following don't do that, change your patterns. I like McCall's and Butterick. Bye!
No Facebook! I hit the back button.
Oh no! Mercedes!
Hang on a second. I got this.
Everything is ruined.
Oh, I didn't mean to hit that button. Okay, I gotta find the post.
Podcast is over.
No!
Can't do it anymore.
I didn't mean to mess up.
Good night, everyone.
No! Okay.
Stressing Mercedes out.
I know, you are. How dare you? This is supposed to be about self-care. Okay. Alright, Cassini. Alright, I found it. Alright, fingers away from the back button. Alright, Alright,
give us this other horror story.
Okay. So, dang it. My phone in the back
lose
buttons. I got it.
Mercedes!
Okay, my fingers are away from the back button. Okay, my horror stories. I always hit the back button at the least opportune moment.
Just does not want the horror to happen.
I know, and it's always on Cassini's comments.